Have you ever felt like you're doing everything, yet still falling short? Like no matter how hard you try, something always feels just out of reach. Control, clarity, peace? You're not alone. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, demands perfection, and rewards appearance over substance, it's easy to lose focus on what truly matters. But what if the answer isn't to try harder, but to master how you try? This video reveals 9 Stoic secrets to doing your absolute best, not by chasing success, but by becoming unshakable, intentional, and mentally strong. Rooted in practical Stoic philosophy, these principles help you reclaim your time, discipline your thoughts, and focus only on what's in your control. You'll discover how to build quiet strength, set emotional boundaries, and finally stop living for the opinions of others. This isn't just theory. It's a code of clarity you can live by, starting today. No, you don't need to be perfect, but you can be focused, you can be resilient, and you will learn how to become your best without burning out trying to impress the world. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're just one mindset away from alignment. So if you're ready to stop surviving and start mastering yourself, like this video, subscribe for more content on Stoic strength and share this with someone who's silently struggling. Let's begin. Your best self isn't found, it's forged. 1. Focus only on what you can control. Everything around you may feel chaotic. Deadlines, opinions, moods, outcomes. But there's a shift that changes everything. The moment you realize that not all of it belongs to you is the moment your peace begins. Stoic philosophy doesn't promise you a life without problems. It offers you the ability to remain unmoved by what's beyond your reach. And that begins with one radical act, focusing only on what you can control. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. You've done the research, rehearsed your responses, and shown up early. But the interviewer seems distracted, the questions feel vague, and by the time you leave, you're unsure if you made a good impression. The old mindset would spiral, overanalyzing what went wrong, replaying the conversation in your head. But what if you chose a different path? What if you reminded yourself that your preparation, your tone, your effort, that was within your control? Their reaction? That never was. This shift isn't about passivity, it's about clarity. When you stop pouring energy into external outcomes, you start reclaiming it for what matters: your presence, your action, your response. Epictetus taught that we own 3 things: our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude. Everything else, from the weather to someone's opinion of you, falls outside that boundary. And once you understand that boundary, you stop trying to live beyond it. It's a daily practice. You'll be tempted to drift back into control fantasies, to fix how people see you, to expect perfection, to micromanage the future. But each time you return to what is yours, you grow stronger. You build emotional discipline. You become mentally unshakable. Start small. Say you're stuck in traffic on the way to something important. You can't move the cars, you can't change the delay, but you can choose what that moment becomes. It can be a stress spiral, or it can be a moment of calm. You can tense up, curse the clock, or you can play something inspiring, breathe deeper, and remind yourself that your energy is better spent elsewhere. That's Stoic in practice. Or consider a conversation that turns critical. Instead of snapping back or shutting down, pause. Ask, can I control what they're saying? No, but I can control whether I take it personally, whether I escalate, or whether I respond calmly. You're not suppressing your emotions, you're training them, like a muscle that grows stronger with each repetition of restraint and awareness. The best version of you doesn't chase everything. He chooses where to plant his attention. And the more he focuses on what's his to shape, his work ethic, his character, his presence, the less he's shaken by what he can't touch. This isn't a one-time epiphany. It's a lifelong alignment. Returning to the center when everything else is trying to pull you off course. And the beauty of it? You don't need to wait for ideal conditions. You can begin now with one moment, one breath, one decision to let go of the rest. So the next time life feels like it's pulling you in 1,000 directions, ask yourself one quiet, grounding question. Is this within my control? If it is, act with courage. If it isn't, release it with peace. That's not giving up. That's growing wise. 2. Let go of perfectionism and embrace progress. Chasing perfection feels noble on the surface, but underneath it's fear in disguise. Fear of not being enough, fear of being judged, fear of falling short. Yet the truth is, the constant pressure to do everything flawlessly doesn't make you better. It burns you out, robs your joy, and keeps you from ever feeling complete. Stoicism offers a quieter, wiser path. Progress over perfection. Doing your best isn't about getting everything right. It's about showing up fully and with intention. Think of someone trying to launch a new project, a writer working on their first book. They pour hours into the draft, but every time they read it, they find flaws. So they keep deleting, rewriting, editing, and doubting. Months go by and nothing is shared. Not because the writing is bad, but because it isn't perfect. That's where so many of us stay, stuck between creation and expectation, convinced that only flawless output is worthy. But Stoic wisdom disrupts that thinking. Marcus Aurelius didn't speak of flawless days. He spoke of worthy efforts. Epictetus didn't call for perfect behavior. He called for discipline, sincerity, and courage in action. Your best isn't found in obsessing over details you can't fully control. It's built in the doing, in the trying, in the growing. So what if the work isn't polished yet? So what if you stumble mid-sentence? Every moment you show up with effort is a moment you step closer to mastery. You weren't made to impress the world. You were made to improve yourself. It's tempting to believe that high standards require harshness, but growth thrives not in self-punishment, but in self-respect. The Stoic doesn't demand perfection. He respects the process. He understands that consistent, focused action, no matter how small, is more powerful than paralyzing overanalysis. Start with one practical shift. When you catch yourself holding back because something's not ready, pause and ask, is this fear or fact? Would taking one imperfect step today move me forward? If so, do it. Publish the post, start the workout, say the words. Let the result be real, even if it's raw. You can also practice voluntary imperfection. Choose one task each day to complete without obsessing. Write the email without rereading it 10 times. Let the dishes be done without rearranging them perfectly. Not because you're lazy, but because you're retraining your mind to value completion over control. Slowly, you'll learn to act without the mental chains of perfectionism. Doing your best isn't about being spotless, it's about being steady. Even if the outcome is flawed, your commitment was whole. And that's what builds character. When you value progress, your energy shifts from self-judgment to self-mastery. You begin to recognize your strength not in how perfect the moment looks, but in how present you are while moving forward. The world doesn't need your perfect version. It needs your honest one. Disciplined, aware, improving. And most of all, it needs the version of you that keeps going, even when no one's watching, even when you're unsure, even when the work feels invisible. That is the Stoic path. Calm persistence over dramatic brilliance. So when the pressure to be flawless creeps in, when you hesitate to act because it's not quite right, breathe and choose movement. Not everything needs to be perfect to be powerful. Not everything needs to be polished to be meaningful. Each honest effort, no matter how rough, is a building block in the foundation of your best self. That's how you rise. Not with lightning, but with loyalty to the process. Keep showing up, let go of perfection, lean into progress, and watch what unfolds. 3. Master self-discipline. Waking up at 5 a.m. every day isn't about the hour. It's about the decision. The quiet, private commitment to show up for yourself, whether or not you feel like it. Self-discipline isn't about restriction. It's not about being cold or robotic. It's about becoming powerful enough to choose what serves you over what seduces you. That's why Stoics held it sacred. Because when you master your actions, your emotions, and your impulses, you reclaim the steering wheel of your life. One of my closest friends, Marcus, used to struggle with inconsistency. He'd start strong, full of energy, but quit the moment things got uncomfortable. He'd hit the gym hard for 2 weeks, then vanish for 2 months. One day he said to me, "I don't know how you keep showing up when you don't feel like it." I told him the truth. I don't wait to feel like it. I decide, then act. That's what Stoicism teaches. Don't obey your moods, lead them. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And it's true. If every urge pulls you off track, if every emotion dictates your behavior, are you really in control? Freedom isn't doing what you want, it's having the strength to do what's right, especially when it's hard. That's what self-discipline builds. Quiet strength, steady power, a mindset that doesn't flinch when things get tough. You start small. Get up when your alarm rings. Finish the task you want to avoid. Put your phone down and return to your work. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Each time you follow through, even when it's inconvenient, you strengthen your identity as someone who does hard things without drama. And slowly, you stop doubting yourself. Not because you've become fearless, but because you've become reliable. Stoics didn't deny emotions. They trained them. They didn't reject comfort. They mastered when to use it. And they knew that in a noisy world full of temptation, the most powerful man is the one who can remain still inside. That's what self-discipline gives you. The ability to hold your ground when everything else wants to move you. When Marcus began applying this, everything changed. He started with 10 minutes of movement every morning. No excuses, no skipping. Then he added 15 minutes of journaling. Not to write poetry, but to check in with himself. What did I avoid today? Where did I let myself down? The goal wasn't guilt, it was awareness. That's where self-discipline begins. Being honest, without judgment, and correcting yourself gently but firmly. You can practice this too. Don't wait for motivation. Build a rhythm. Use time blocks. Set small wins each morning. Make your bed, drink water, review your priorities. When cravings hit, don't fight them with force. Observe them. Let them pass. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about becoming untouchable. Not by removing feeling, but by refusing to let feeling rule you. Self-discipline doesn't make life rigid. It makes it dependable. It creates the structure that frees you to grow. And in a world that constantly pulls your attention away, the man who can return to himself, to his duty, to what matters, he becomes unshakable. You'll know you're making progress when keeping your word to yourself feels like oxygen, not obligation. So ask yourself today, what would the disciplined version of me do next? Then do that, without delay, without debate. Not for glory, not for applause, but because you said you would. And each time you do, you become more of who you were meant to be. Focused, grounded, free. That's self-mastery. That's the Stoic way. 4. Accept and learn from failure. Success rarely teaches you who you are, but failure, that's where the mirror appears. And what matters isn't how many times you fall, it's how you respond when you do. In the Stoic world, failure isn't shameful, it's sacred. A test of perspective, a chance to grow roots where most people collapse. Denzel Washington once said, "Fall forward." When he spoke at a university commencement, he told the crowd he'd failed multiple auditions, been told he wasn't ready, wasn't right. But instead of retreating, he moved forward with the fall, learning, refining, applying. That mindset isn't just motivational fluff, it's Stoic at its core. Because falling forward means using your setbacks as stepping stones. It means you treat mistakes not as proof of weakness, but as fuel for wisdom. The Stoics understood that the outcome never defines the individual. What defines you is how you respond to the outcome. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That quote carries weight, because it puts the power back in your hands. You may not control the failure, but you can shape the meaning it holds. So what happens when a dream falls apart? When does the business close? When does the relationship end? Most people rush to self-blame, to retreat. But the Stoic looks deeper. He asks, what did this reveal about me? Where can I improve? Failure becomes a form of feedback, not judgment, but data. Not defeat, but direction. Practical Stoic practice here means stepping back after failure and journaling. Not emotionally, but reflectively. Write what happened. What was in your control? What wasn't? What you can try differently? Then close the page and move forward with a calmer mind. Because when you process failure with clarity, it loses its sting and becomes a strategy. One way to train this mindset is through negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of imagining potential obstacles before they happen. This doesn't make you pessimistic, it makes you prepared. If you already accept the possibility of struggle, you're less likely to be paralyzed when it arrives. You won't panic, you'll adapt. Another way is to detach your self-worth from success. Instead of saying, I failed, so I'm worthless, reframe it as, I tried, I learned, and I'm adjusting. This isn't mental gymnastics, it's mental resilience. The Stoic refuses to be defined by temporary setbacks. He defines himself by how he rises after them. And this is where inner strength is built. Not in the good days when everything goes right, but in the silent moments after you've stumbled, when no one is watching, you still choose to stand tall, breathe deep, and try again. Doing your best means making peace with the fact that not every effort leads to applause. Some efforts lead to silence, some to the criticism, some to failure, but all of them, if carried with presence and intention, shape the person you're becoming. The more calmly you handle the storm, the more confident you become in your ability to navigate life. So next time things don't go as planned, don't just ask, why me? Ask, what now? You can replay the past, or you can redirect the future. You can shrink, or you can sharpen. You can let failure label you, or you can let it forge you. Growth rarely feels graceful, but it always feels worth it. Keep showing up, keep refining, and above all, keep moving forward, not despite the fall, but because of it. That is how Stoics become unshakable. That is how failure becomes fuel. 5. Stop seeking external validation. When you're constantly looking for a sign that you're doing enough, being enough, achieving enough, you start handing over your power piece by piece. You wait for approval before taking action, for permission before standing tall. But what if doing your best had nothing to do with applause and everything to do with alignment? That's the Stoic path. And it starts when you stop asking, what will they think of me? And start asking, what do I think of myself? You've probably had moments like this. Maybe you spent hours working on something important, poured in your energy, and stayed up late to perfect the details. Then you sent it out, and the silence was deafening. No feedback, no praise, no recognition. A part of you deflates, wondering if it even mattered. But deep down, you know it did. Because you showed up, you gave what you had, you acted with intention. And that's the shift Stoicism invites, to measure your worth not by the echo, but by your effort. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He wasn't being harsh. He was pointing to a truth we've all lived. When your self-worth is tied to someone else's reaction, you become emotionally fragile. Their silence becomes your insecurity. Their judgment becomes your inner voice. That's no way to live. A practical Stoic shift happens the moment you start anchoring your identity in values, not in validation. Try this. After completing something meaningful, instead of waiting for someone else to notice, pause and ask yourself, was I honest? Was I focused? Did I give my best in that moment? Let your answers define your success. Let your intention become your affirmation. I remember one of our viewers once emailed us after watching a past video on emotional discipline. He said, "I always thought I needed someone to tell me I was doing okay, but now I just check in with my principles. If I followed them, I would sleep well. If I didn't, I reflect, not spiral." That's the kind of shift Stoicism brings, not louder confidence, but quieter certainty. You can build this into your day. Each morning, set an internal standard. Today, I will speak with clarity, act with purpose, and work with presence. Then at the end of the day, review, not based on outcomes, but based on whether you lived by those standards. This simple practice of self-auditing creates internal alignment, the kind of stability no praise or rejection can shake. Of course, approval feels good. We're wired to connect. But the problem begins when approval becomes oxygen. When your actions bend to please others instead of honoring what you believe. That's when you drift. That's when you compromise. That's when your best becomes someone else's version of good enough. Doing your best means doing what's right even when no one notices. It means building character in private, integrity when unobserved, strength when uncelebrated. Because the truth is, most of your transformation happens silently. Most of your breakthroughs won't get applause. And most of your victories will be invisible to everyone but you. That doesn't make them any less real. It makes them more yours. So the next time you wonder if what you're doing matters, ask yourself a different question. Did they see me? But was I true to myself? That shift changes everything. It brings you back to center. And from that place, you no longer need to chase approval. you already have something better. Self-respect, earned through quiet, daily discipline. That's Stoic validation, and it's the only kind that lasts. 6. Stay present and let go of the past and future. Racing thoughts don't solve problems, they multiply them. You replay yesterday's mistakes, worry about tomorrow's unknowns, and before you realize it, you've missed the only moment that matters, the one you're living right now. That's why presence is not just a luxury, it's a form of power. The Stoics didn't meditate to escape life, they trained their minds to be fully in it. Because if you're not present, you're not really alive. You're just existing in memories and projections. A friend of mine, Claire, runs a small flower shop. It's nothing fancy, just a quiet corner space downtown. But every time I visit, she's in flow. She moves with calm precision, arranging petals, cleaning buckets, and greeting customers like each one matters. One day I asked her how she stays so grounded, especially when business is slow or life gets heavy. She smiled and said, "The flowers only live in the present. So do I." That stayed with me, not as a poetic line, but as a Stoic truth in action. Marcus Aurelius said, "Confine yourself to the present." Not because the past or future are unimportant, but because they're uncontrollable. What you did yesterday, you can't change. What will happen tomorrow, you can't predict. The only space where your choices have meaning is now. And if you train yourself to return to this moment again and again, life becomes less chaotic. It doesn't get easier, but you become clearer. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about responding to reality without being consumed by what's already gone or what hasn't arrived. You practice it in the small things. When you're washing dishes, feel the water. When you're walking, notice your breath, your steps, the world around you. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back, not with judgment, but with patience. You can use a simple technique called anchor thoughts. Whenever you find yourself drifting into regret or fear, say silently, "Now is the only time I can act." Repeat it if you need to. That phrase isn't magic, but it grounds you. And the more often you return to now, the more stable your inner world becomes. The Stoic practice of being present is also about emotional energy. So much of your stress, resentment, or anxiety comes from resisting what is. You want the meeting to have gone differently. You want your health to improve faster. You want someone to respond the way you imagined. But the Stoic looks at these moments and says, "This is what's in front of me. What can I do with it?" That kind of clarity doesn't make emotions disappear, but it keeps them from taking the wheel. I've seen Claire do this when a customer complains or when a shipment arrives late. She takes a breath, adjusts what she can, and moves forward. She's not pretending everything's fine. She's just refusing to let the moment be hijacked by frustration about the past or fear of what comes next. That's presence. That's power. That's peace built from within. Try this. The next time your mind runs ahead into the future or loops back into the past, stop and describe your environment out loud. "I'm sitting here. The chair is solid. My breath is steady. My phone is on the table." It sounds simple, maybe even silly, but it works. It interrupts the loop and reminds your nervous system that you are safe here, now. Doing your best doesn't require you to solve everything at once. It asks that you bring your full self to what's right in front of you. This hour, this task, this breath, because that's all you truly own. So choose to return again and again to the present moment. That's where strength lives. That's where clarity begins. That's where your best self waits. 7. Embrace change with grace. No one stays the same, and no life remains untouched by change. But while most people resist it, fight it, or fear it, the Stoic chooses something different. He works with it. He moves through it. He learns to see change not as a threat, but as part of the rhythm of life. And when you embrace it, instead of clinging to what was or fearing what's next, you create space to become something stronger, calmer, and far more capable. Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become one of the most influential Stoic teachers, lived a life marked by transformation. His early years were spent under someone else's control. His body was limited, but his mind, his attitude remained his. When freedom finally came, he didn't seek revenge or status, he sought clarity. He built a life of quiet discipline and deep reflection. His story wasn't clean, it was complex. But because he accepted change, adapted to it, and stayed grounded in what he could control, his philosophy still echoes through the centuries. That's what doing your best looks like when the ground beneath you shifts. You don't fall apart, you realign. Change isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. The way your priorities shift as you age, the way friendships evolve, or the quiet realization that a goal you once chased no longer fits. And yet, most people ignore these signs. They hold on longer than they should, out of fear that letting go means failure. But the Stoic knows better. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Marcus Aurelius said, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change." He didn't write that as a poet. He wrote it as an emperor in the middle of chaos, watching empires rise and fall. If he could find stillness while carrying the weight of an empire, so can we, in our far smaller storms. Change reminds us of what's never been in our control. And strangely, that's liberating. When you stop trying to make life stay the same, you free yourself to grow with it. You can practice this daily. The next time something unexpected happens, a plan shifts, a person disappoints you, an outcome changes, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what is this moment giving me an opportunity to practice? Is it patience, adaptability, emotional control? Instead of resisting the shift, use it. Let the discomfort sharpen your focus. Let it strip away what's unnecessary. Let it strengthen your grip on what truly matters. Another Stoic practice is journaling the inevitability of change. Each night, write down one thing that changed that day, big or small, and what it revealed about your mindset. This builds inner flexibility. And flexibility, in a chaotic world, is power. You don't break, you bend, you adjust. You return to your principles, but not to your old patterns. Doing your best in a changing world doesn't mean staying the same. It means staying grounded while you grow. It means showing up even when the map changes, the rules shift, or the timeline vanishes. The Stoic doesn't panic when plans fall apart. He pivots. He adapts, not by abandoning his values, but by expressing them in new ways. The core remains, even when the shape changes. So when life rearranges itself in a way you didn't choose, don't waste energy wishing for what used to be. Step into what is. Ask yourself, what is this preparing me for? You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stay present, stay responsive, and stay true to what you control. That's how you do your best, even in transition, not by holding your breath and waiting for stability, but by breathing through the change and becoming steady from the inside out. 8. Use adversity to build strength. A blade doesn't become sharp by being polished gently. It's forged by fire, struck again and again, shaped under pressure. And just like steel, a strong mind is not made in comfort. It's built on adversity. That's not poetic exaggeration. That's Stoic truth. When life tests you, it's not just trying to break you. It's giving you the raw material to build a version of yourself that you couldn't have reached otherwise. One of the most vivid examples of this came from a friend who survived a painful divorce. Everything he thought was stable suddenly collapsed. His routine, his family, his sense of identity. At first, he crumbled. But slowly, instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" he started asking, "What can I learn from this?" And it changed everything. He began journaling daily. He read Epictetus each morning. He rebuilt not just his schedule, but his inner world. And now, years later, he says that season didn't destroy him, it defined him. Adversity feels like chaos, but from the Stoic perspective, it's structure in disguise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the obstacle isn't blocking the path, it is the path. You weren't meant to glide through life unchanged. You were meant to respond, refine, and rise. The truth is, pain uncovers parts of you that comfort never will. It reveals how you react under pressure, what beliefs truly anchor you, and where your boundaries need reinforcement. And even though you don't choose adversity, you always choose your response. That's where your power lives. That's where strength grows, in the space between stimulus and action, in the space where the Stoic chooses principle over panic. Practical training begins with reframing. When something unwanted happens, rejection, illness, failure, don't rush to label it as negative. Ask yourself, what is this revealing in me? That question transforms adversity from enemy into instructor. You're no longer fighting the storm, you're learning to move within it. You can also create adversity on purpose, not to suffer, but to build strength. Wake earlier than you want to. Take cold showers. Delay gratification. Speak up when silence would be safer. These micro-challenges, practiced consistently, build the muscle of resilience. And when the real storms come, you won't panic. You've already trained for discomfort. You've already shown yourself that you can act calmly when everything feels uncertain. Think of a tree that's grown in a windless environment. It looks tall, elegant, until the first strong wind knocks it down. But the tree that has grown against the wind? It's grounded. Its roots go deeper. Its strength isn't visible on the surface, but it holds firm when it matters most. You're that tree. And adversity is the wind that shapes your foundation. Doing your best doesn't mean avoiding hardship. It means using it. It means welcoming the fire, not for the pain, but for the purification. Because when you emerge on the other side, calmer, sharper, more aware, you carry something unshakable inside. That is not given, that is earned. So the next time life sends a wave that knocks you off balance, don't collapse. Don't ask for the easy, ask for clarity. Ask for the lesson. Ask how you can move through this with integrity, with presence, and with purpose. That's Stoicism in action, not suppressing emotion, but transforming experience. You weren't made to remain untouched. You were made to be tempered like steel, tested and still standing, cut by life and still clear-eyed. Let adversity shape you, not define you. Let it challenge you, not crush you. Let it awaken the strength that was always waiting inside. 9. Practice gratitude, even in difficult times. Pain makes it easy to forget what's still good. When something breaks, when life goes quiet, when the weight gets heavy, it's tempting to focus only on what's missing. But Stoicism reminds us that gratitude isn't just for sunny days. It's a deliberate practice, especially when skies are gray. And when you make it a habit to notice what's still working, even in hardship, you build a kind of strength that no external reward can match. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That's not to dismiss your challenges, but to remind you that our mind often exaggerates pain by ignoring what remains. You could be in the middle of uncertainty and still find something steady, a body that wakes up, a mind that learns, a voice that speaks truth. Gratitude begins when you stop waiting for life to be perfect before appreciating what's already present. I remember reading about Admiral James Stockdale, a U.S. Navy officer and prisoner of war in Vietnam. He was tortured, isolated, starved, but he never lost himself. He credited the Stoic teachings of Epictetus for helping him endure. And do you know what he practiced each day in that brutal captivity? Gratitude. Not for comfort, but for the clarity to endure. He focused on what he still controlled, his thoughts, his dignity, his integrity. Even in chains, he chose what to honor. Doing your best isn't always about bold action. Sometimes it's as quiet as whispering thank you to a moment that didn't go wrong. Gratitude repositions your mind. It takes your focus away from lack and toward awareness. And when you consistently train yourself to see what's still here, you stop chasing happiness and start uncovering peace. You can begin this practice with a simple journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that gave you strength. They don't have to be extraordinary. Clean water, a deep breath, a hard conversation you handled calmly. By choosing to name these moments, you're shifting your inner dialogue from scarcity to presence, and presence is where all Stoic power begins. Another practical habit is gratitude in real time. When something small goes right, a stranger holds a door, your food tastes good, your plan flows smoothly, pause. Acknowledge it. Say thank you in your mind. This isn't about being naive, it's about refusing to be blind. Life doesn't owe you ease, but it still offers small, steady mercies. And those mercies, when noticed, make you resilient. Think of gratitude like a weight you lift. The more you train, the stronger your inner posture becomes. You stop being shaken by external storms because you've built something steady on the inside. You stop reacting from lack and start responding from sufficiency. Doing your best in difficult times often looks like choosing what to notice. You can spend the day thinking about what didn't work, or you can scan for what gave you grace. And when things fall apart, gratitude becomes your compass. It doesn't erase pain, but it shows you where to stand. Not in fantasy, not in denial, but in reality, with your feet firmly planted on what still holds. So when the next setback arrives, when life tests your patience or breaks your plans, pause. Ask yourself, what do I still have? Is it breath? Is it memory? Is it a choice? Whatever it is, let that be enough to begin again. Gratitude isn't weakness. Its clarity is sharpened by perspective. It's a lens that brings you back to life when your mind wants to escape it. And it's a reminder that your best self isn't built by what you collect, but by how deeply you honor what you already hold. Doing your best is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about applause. It's about alignment. And as the Stoics teach us, true strength doesn't come from controlling everything, but from mastering yourself, especially in the face of what you cannot control. Each of the 9 principles we explored today is a doorway to deeper clarity, to emotional control, to a life lived with purpose rather than pressure. You now know what it means to focus only on what's in your hands, to let go of the need for approval, and to build quiet self-discipline that stands when the world shifts. You've seen how adversity can forge inner resilience, how letting go of perfection invites peace, and how presence grounds you in truth. You've witnessed how gratitude, especially in hard times, can rewire your inner narrative and reveal strength you forgot you had. But knowledge alone is not transformation. Practice is. This work is not about one bold day. It's about daily actions, silent decisions, and small victories no one sees but you. The Stoic path is lived, not memorized. So choose one idea from today. Just one. Begin there. Live with it. Let it change the way you walk through the day, the way you breathe when things don't go your way, the way you respond instead of react. And if any of these ideas spoke to you, I invite you to share your own journey in the comments. What's one moment in your life where you chose to do your best, even in silence? Let your story inspire someone else who needs that reminder today. Because in this quiet discipline, we rise together, day by day, thought by thought, breath by breath.